What's going on, guys? It's Suk and I am back with a brand new video on SuperDuprTech. And in today's video I'm going to be showing you what it's like to play games on the upper 13-inch model of the 2019 MacBook Pro. So without any further ado, let's hit the titles. So right off the bat, let's talk about gaming on Macs. They're not designed to play games, it's as simple as that. They are not gaming PCs, as a combination of their software, their design and the hardware components such as a display locked at 60Hz are characteristics of machines that are not designed with gaming in mind. But that being said, it's good to know that if you ever needed to play the odd game here or there, that you could quite possibly do so. Also, the specifications for this MacBook Pro will be left down below in the description section, and just as a heads up, this is not the base model. The base model comes with a 1.4 GHz processor. And if you'd like to see what it's like to play games on that particular model, then be sure to click the card in the top right corner to be taken to a video in which I did exactly that. So now that we have that out the way, let's get into talking about the games that we played on this Mac. So that was Battlefield 5, Destiny 2, Grand Theft Auto 5, Fortnite, Apex Legends, Call of Duty Black Ops 4, CSGO, Firewatch, and finally Mafia 3. The MacBook Pro was running Windows 10 via Boot Camp, as to be able to play these games you cannot run them on macOS due to these games requiring the support of DirectX. These games were then played at a number of different resolutions at the native 16:10 aspect ratio with high graphic settings. The first resolution that was used was the MacBook's native resolution of 2560x1600. As you may have expected, but for a machine that doesn't have a dedicated graphics card, the frame rates were actually quite bad, with only GTA and Black Ops 4 coming in with a close average of 30 frames per second. With Mafia 3 and Fortnite giving us on average less than 10 frames per second, though Firewatch and Battlefield performed very similarly with around 11 frames per second on average. The frame rates aren't anything to sing and dance about, especially for an £1,800 machine, but you have to adjust your expectations. A Mac is a productivity tool. You wouldn't use a ladder to lay carpet, and you most certainly wouldn't use a Mac as a primary gaming machine. After seeing how the MacBook Pro performed at its native resolution, I then lowered this to 1920x1200, and as you could see, we got on average with Black Ops 4 over 40 frames per second, whereas on the flip side with Battlefield 5 and Fortnite, both of those coming in with on average 12 frames per second, which is literally one more on average than what we was getting when playing at native resolution. The one thing which is quite interesting and has to be noted, that GTA, Apex, CSGO and Destiny 2 were actually quite close to hitting on average around 30 frames per second. So if you play those games, you may have a little luck playing with smoother frame rates. So finally, after seeing how smooth of a gaming experience we could get, I lowered the resolution to standard HD at this 16:10 aspect ratio of 1280x800, and to my surprise, Destiny 2, CSGO and Black Ops 4 had frame rates above or close to 50 frames per second. Which wasn't too bad for a Mac. I mean, for an £1,800 machine, it's terrible, but for a MacBook without a dedicated GPU, I don't think it's too bad. And what you'll also see is that Battlefield also came in very close to a 30 frames per second average, which was pretty good to see. You may have noticed that I keep throwing Mafia 3 into these gaming test videos, just so that you can get an idea of how an unoptimized game performs on different MacBooks. So as you have seen, you can indeed play games on a MacBook Pro. Should you buy a MacBook as your primary gaming machine? Probably not. There are much better ways to spend close to £2,000, not to mention a gaming laptop at half this price will most likely outperform it. Now I make these videos to show that you can play a few titles here and there on a Mac without running into too many issues, though for a machine not having a GPU I think it has performed fairly well. Now if you want to see how a MacBook with a GPU performs, then be sure to subscribe and click the bell icon to be notified of when I upload my video performing the same tests on the 16-inch MacBook Pro. I will also be doing this on the newer 2020 MacBooks whenever they get released. So what are your thoughts on how this MacBook Pro performed? Of course, leave those thoughts down below in the comment section, or alternatively, why not hit me up on my social media, links to which can be found down below in the description. And as I mentioned earlier, there are links down below to where you can find the same test conducted on the entry-level 13-inch MacBook Pro. So if you want to see that and compare the two, be sure to check that out. Once again, thank you guys very much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Have a good one.